Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Little Johnny's kindergarten class was on a field trip to their local police station where they saw pictures tacked to a bulletin board of the 10 most wanted criminals. One of the youngsters pointed to a picture and said, "If it was really the photo of a wanted person." "Yes," said the policeman. "The detectives want very badly to capture him." Little Johnny said, "Why didn't you keep him when you took his picture?" Right on, Johnny. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Morning, morning. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning to you. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch, and with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, we say have a great day, and also some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Right now, without further ado, it's time for our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Morning, young man.
Hi, Dal. How you doing?
Rottener than rotten this morning.
All right, buddy, go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, you do a great job, sir. God's blessings to you and your very shy, retiring bride.
That brought a big smile.
Okay. Have a good one. Thanks so much. God bless you.
Okay.
I love those people. Hey, good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, and we got a full plate of great people here today, and don't miss a minute of it. Right now, it's time to get to the weather forecast, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door. You know, nobody in the valley has a display like Cheney Flooring and Home Design, and they've doubled the amount of tile that they have at a very, very low economical rate. You better stop in and check it out today. Also, all kinds of new carpet, whatever you need to make your house a home. At Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like we're in a high-pressure system for the next couple of days, and as we move on into the weekend, weather for this November 2nd looks like sunny skies, high of 54 with an overnight low of 30. Tomorrow, sunny and 60 with an overnight low of 32. Sunny skies for the weekend. Looks like highs are going to be in the low to mid-60s. Lows are going to be in the mid-30s, and for Sunday, mostly sunny skies, high right around 60. Yesterday's high was 51. The overnight low was 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you very much. Great job on the weather forecast this morning, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Like I say, look for that blue door. I have got a fly here this morning, and I killed two of his comrades a little bit earlier, but this one is bent on just landing on this microphone. Hang on. I might have a clear shot at him in a minute, so don't be alarmed if you hear a loud splat. in just a moment. What do we got cooking today? My goodness sakes, Dave Bigo is going to be on the air at 9:06, and then Todd Gassiano, a attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation, is going to be talking about the Electoral College, along with Representative Fred Woods. And I'm really looking forward to talking to my dear friend on certain issues. And then at 10:30, as I have been broadcasting and publicizing, the great Dr. Elena George is going to be on the program talking about Obamacare, hopefully the demise of Obamacare, and the high costs, everything else. Now, I will take questions during her interview, but I urge you, I want you to keep your questions extremely short so I can make room for all the people that want to call in, okay? Don't just ramble and ramble and ramble. Anyhow, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday, with all of your heating and electrical needs, including all your furnace filters to keep your furnace running efficiently in that old basement. I'll tell you what, they do the job, and they want to make sure that you have warm winters and cool summers, always with our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Really, really nice people. Don't forget, too, Denny's Restaurant. How could you forget Denny's Restaurant? Holy smokes, I'm telling you, outstanding meals. Listen to some of these great pancake ideas for breakfast, like sticky bun pancakes. Ooh, cinnamon sauce and cream cheese icing. Wow, along with salted caramel and banana cream pancakes. Or how about the new Rudolph pancake breakfast? Oh, get into America's Diner at 611 Overland in Burley. It's Denny's Restaurant. The home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. You better stop in today. And they also have a location at 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant. Yep, America's Diner. I gotta say this. Please just live with me on this for another day, or hopefully two. Cubs win! Cubs win! Holy cow! There, I feel better now. They tied the series last night with a blowout. The bats came alive. Somebody put an alarm clock in the bat rack. 9-3. Oh, my goodness. And Addison Russell last night, the shortstop, with a grand salami. That's right, a grand slam home run. 9-3, they beat the Indians last night. I hope that Representative Bert Stevenson is listening. I hope that Bert Stevenson is getting nervous. I hope that he has beads of sweat on his brow, because he has been an Indian fan. Tonight's the big night. But I can't see it at home. I can't watch the game in my own house tonight, because Idaho Power is going to have a maintenance outage from 8 to 9:30. There are no words that I can add to that legally. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, next Tuesday, vote yes on HJR5. Don't let activist courts take away our legislature's authority to approve or reject agency rules. Vote yes on HJR5. And it encourages better communication and cooperation within our branches of state government. Vote yes on HJR5. Paid for by Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, Representative Fred Wood, and, of course, Senator Kelly Anthon. Jack Johnson is running for county commissioner in Twin Falls County, District 3, and he wants your vote next Tuesday, November 8th. He wants to have a balanced approach to economic and agricultural needs, and will try to enhance and work to enhance mental health assistance to our veterans. Don't forget, Jack Johnson running for District 3, Twin Falls County Commissioner, paid for by the committee to elect Jack Johnson, Darren Kyle, Treasurer. And last but not least at all, in our list of all the great people that are running, Steve Hartgen running for State Representative, District 24B. He wants your vote vote next Tuesday, November 8th, to stay in and serve you at the Idaho House of Representatives. A very high conservative rating on a wide range of issues. So remember, when you go to the polls next Tuesday, November 8th, vote for Steve Harkin. And believe me, strong traditional conservative values paid for by Steve Harkin Campaign Committee. All right, it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I heard this story early this morning, and I got to tell you that I'm outraged that our country has come to this. Our police officers are being gunned down on the streets. Our police officers are being shot while sitting in patrol squad cars. 2 police officers in 2 different squad cars in 2 different locations in Des Moines, Iowa, were shot and killed. They think they have a suspect by the name of, and I'm just going to turn the page here, Scott Michael Green. He's a 46-year-old white man, and all I can say is that I certainly hope they get this person and show no mercy. Some will criticize me for that and say he deserves his day in court. His day in court, I hope, will be in the same vein of absolute anarchy that he shot these 2 policemen that'll never go home to their families again. Absolutely a heinous crime. And I have no time, nor do I want to provide the time, effort, and money for having these people that absolutely are heinous killers go to the court system, abuse the court system, elongate the court system, and just sit there in their merry little chairs in their cell enjoying life while these officers' families are struggling to survive. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
Well, I'm fantastic. What can I do for you?
There's frost on the pumpkin. Oh, I was gonna ask about they had the annual anniversary of Jackie Annis getting murdered, and I was curious. Both deputies are gone by quite a bit of time. Do they have a list, or do you have any idea where they went, or how you can track them to so we don't end up with them?
I tell you what, I want to inform you and the general public about what we're doing here. After the elections are over, starting next Tuesday, I have about 3 or 4 people that are doing some research on the Jack Annis shooting case, and also the Bundy case, and also what happened up in Malheur, Oregon, at the County Wildlife Preserve. And the reason I'm saying all 3 of these together, I know that there are a lot of extenuating circumstances in all 3 cases, and I'm going to be talking about these in general. I'm going to have many people on my program. They're going to be talking about some of the facts and points of all of these stories that the general public has not been told or will never be told. I will on this program, but I'm going to ask you and all my listeners to bear with me for about maybe another 2 weeks to get all the facts put together for these various segments we're going to do, and I promise you we will give you plenty of advance notice so you don't miss it on the show.
Well, I really appreciate that, Zeb. And the only one I'm the most mad at is the Attorney General.
Yes.
You know, if the deputies were innocent, they should have let a jury of their peers decide that, not him.
There are
stepped out of the way and let the judicial do what they had to do with it.
You know, there are so many.
stopped it right there.
I agree. There are so many points of interest that I think need to be brought out for the family, the Yadis family, Mrs. Yadis, and also going over to the other case up in Oregon with Lavoy Finicum and also the Bundy family, etc. There are a lot of things that I think absolutely, I'm just going to say this, government encroachment of our rights. And I'm going to be doing a lot of study on this, but please bear with me until after this election's over so I can put more time into these segments and get all these people lined up to come on the program, sir. I appreciate your call.
Okay. You bet. I seen you out walking the other day. I'm thinking of you.
By golly, a lot of people have said, what in the world are you doing out in the dark walking around your driveway at 6:30 in the morning? Well, I'm out there exercising my hip, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're looking better. You're looking better.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
I laugh a little bit because it's really the truth. I've had more people say they're going by to go to work early in the morning at 6:30, either Burley or Twin, and they're saying, what in the world are you doing out there? Well, I'm exercising. And the problem is it's so dadgum dark in the morning, and I didn't want to walk down the lane on the other side of my place because of all the rocks and the crevices and everything else and fall flat on my big fat nose. So I go around my circle, my driveway, and I've got it all measured out as to how the distance is and everything so I can maintain a certain level of efficiency as far as exercise is concerned. But a lot of people have said, what are you doing out there in the dark, man? Well, I'm working out. Okay. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Jim Patrick wants your vote to go back to be the state senator of District 25. He says thank you for all the people that have supported him in the past, and he wants your vote again this next November 8th. This is a man that absolutely is a real help to the state of Idaho, and of course he's been on many, many, many top committees, and he also wants you to support HJR 5. Next Tuesday, November 8th, when you go vote for Jim Patrick for State Senate District 25, paid for by the Re-elect Patrick for Senate Committee. Okay, thank you very much. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, and my buddy, Charlie Howell. Yeah, I roped with him for a long time. We've known each other for a long time. Is running for District 2 Jerome County Commissioner again. He has really worked hard and spearheaded that new jail project for over the last 10 years. And Charlie listens to everything and everybody on both sides of the discussion, and he's always demonstrating team play with independent thinking. Don't forget, re-elect Charlie Howell for another 4-year term as a Jerome County Commissioner, District 2, paid for by Howell for County Commissioner, Brenda Haddam, Treasurer. There you go. All right, your turn. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Woo, scared me. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, you little cubby lover.
Okay.
Well, I just want you to know how happy I am that you're happy.
You know, I got to tell you something, Mr. Cottom, that last night when Addison Russell hit that grand slam home run, I now have to find repair service for my lazy boy because I think I broke the lever, man. I was encouraged to jump up and do a Cub dance, and then the phone started lighting up, and I had about, I bet you, 30 phone calls in about 5 minutes. Hey, the Cubs did it. They're going to win. They're going to win. Well, of course they're going to win. They're going to win tonight, too.
Hey, what's the Las Vegas odds tonight?
I couldn't care less about Las Vegas odds. All I'm telling you is that tonight the Indians are going to throw one of the best pitchers in baseball, and that's Kluber, and the Cubs are going to have one of the best pitchers in baseball, and that's Hendricks. It's going to be a great matchup. Nobody better blink because that's going to be the telltale sign somebody's going to get whooped, and I hope it's the Indians losing. Are you listening, Bert Stevenson? And the Cubs are going to win tonight.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of those pesky Indians at last.
All right, well, hey, listen, and the problem is I got to leave home to go watch the game because Idaho Power is going to shut off everybody's power in this district.
Well, I got a solution for you. You know, if you know someone
who's got a 5,000-watt generator. All you got to do is plug it into one of your outlets, and you'll have power.
No, I did it. I did it a very sly way, Keith, and I didn't mean to do this, but it came out all right. I called my dear friend Larry Hudig last night, and I said, "Man, it looks like the Cubs are going to win this game, and then we're going to go to Game 7." And then I said, "But Idaho Power is going to have a maintenance power outage tonight, and I can't even watch it on my own TV set." And I left that sentence dangle for a minute, and he says, "Well, why don't you come over and watch it with us?" So I'm going to do it.
Oh, good deal. Yeah, that generator, but it would take at least a 5,000 watts to do what you need to do.
Okay. Well,
anyway, I'm glad the Cubs won, and life is good.
Well, let me tell you something real quick, that if they win tonight and they win the World Series, I am a 69-year-old fanatic fan of baseball and the Chicago Cubs. They haven't won the World Series since 1908. Cottam, that's almost as old as you are.
Not quite. But we won't go into being old and decrepit.
Okay, okay, buddy. Hey, thanks a lot for your call and your good sportsmanship. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I just wanted to add one more thing. This is kind of like a free commercial, but, I won the drawing at the lunch bunch.
Yeah.
And Doug Martin had given me a certificate to Alaska's Best Restaurant in Rupert. And yesterday afternoon, my wife and I went over there, and it was wonderful.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Old Doug's got those redneck cup holders, too. And he's got a great sense of humor, and they really work good, too. Keith, I got to run. Thanks much. Appreciate it.
You bet. Bye-bye.
All right. Hey, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I'm going to be over there tomorrow. And I think I get in the pool tomorrow. I think at 1 or 2 o'clock. I can't remember. But anyway, they're always helping you get back to being you. All the exercises, the sports medicine, great physical therapist. My, yes. And the number to call for an appointment, 678-1191. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They got that hydrotherapy pool. Oh, my, that is a lifesaver. Get a hold of them today. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Oh, and before we take some more calls, go Cubs go, I want to remind you about Berry Equipment and Rental. They have the equipment to get the job done right. 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Rod and Juan and everybody, they got a great repair shop. Did you hear what they're doing on used Bobcat equipment right now? 0% interest on 48 months if you buy used Bobcat equipment right now. I'm not kidding you. 0% interest. You better check it out at Berry Equipment and Rental. As I said, 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Berry Equipment and Rental. Your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Obama, or Barry Otero, by the way, we have 78 days left. I counted them. 78 days left of Barry Otero's regime. Yeah, that was his real name, and then he went to Barack Obama. And I can't hardly wait to see that day after, day number 79. Goodbye, Barack. And anyway, I wanted to say that he was on the stump yesterday. Oh, that fly will not leave me alone. And he was really bragging. This is what was really funny. I hope some of you saw this. He was really bragging about all the benefits that he has created for us. Really? I started, and non-prejudicially, I tried to think of the benefits that he's created for me and my wife. And I still have, I made a little T-bar of pluses and minuses. Now, my minuses against Barry Otero are numerous. But I'm still, this morning, objectively seeking a plus. He was bragging about Obamacare. Excuse me. He was bragging about 20 million people that are now on insurance coverage through Obamacare. But why didn't he talk about the over 30 million people that's estimated that are going to have to drop coverage because of extreme critical high rates in premiums? And those that are in that group are also finding that they are losing their doctors and are having to go elsewhere. I wonder how he didn't mention that. Was it an oversight? I wonder. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget the lovely doctor of audiology, and that is Dr. Christine Pickup over at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and the only locally owned and independent hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho. Number to call, 312-0957. Now, I would urge you, if you notice that you've had a decrease in hearing, to give her a call. Have a hearing screening. I'm serious that you really need to know what the problem is, and she can help rectify it. At Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, call today, 312-0957, and they are right across from the Minidoka Hospital emergency room. And we also want to mention to you on Mondays, as you know, we give away a dozen cookies. And I think we're going to have a little change on that, aren't we, Deanne? Next Monday, what are we giving away next time instead of cookies? Have you got that list for me over there? Anyway, she'll find out, and it's going to be at 8:31. You answer a question, and you will win whatever is delicious from Sophie's. What will it be? Cookies next Monday again. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert, Sophie's Chatterbox. It is delicious. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hillary said yesterday that anyone who votes for Trump needs to have an intervention. Oh, really? She's already called us deplorables. Now she's saying that we're mentally incompetent and we need an intervention. Well, I guess it's fair to say that anyone that votes for Hillary is, and I'm just going to put it in cowboy terminology, dumber than a post. I mean, why would you want to vote for somebody that right now is on the hook, possibly to be indicted on various and many charges, and if she wins the presidency next Tuesday, during the interim of time until January 21st, when she assumes the position of president in the Oval Office, she might end up being indicted, and the court case is going to take her away from her business in the Oval Office, and very possibly and hopefully on my part, she'll end up in prison. Why would you want to vote for her? So many illicit and illegal activities. Let's see what this caller has to say. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. This is Clarence again.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this deal about this insurance program, we was on Medicare, and I think the wife had that Obama, whatever it was, and she's had to have an operation on her arm, and we have tried 3 doctors in Boise, 4 doctors in Salt Lake, 2 doctors in Idaho Falls, and all these doctors refuse to take her because we're on Medicare.
I am so sorry for you and your wife. That was the rejection verbiage that they use because you're on Medicare? They won't touch this surgery? Is that what they told you?
Exactly. That's exactly what they said, that they were not taking Medicare persistence. We finally found a doctor down at Twin at St. Luke's, and he said, yeah, he would take care of it.
I'm absolutely appalled over this, but I knew it was coming. I years ago when we talked about Obamacare, we said that there would be restrictions and denials, and quite frankly, that's coming true. May I ask you, please, to call in at 10:30 and ask the expert. This lady knows more than I or any 10 people combined about Obamacare. Her name is Dr. Elena George, and she's in Atlanta, Georgia, and she's going to be on my program, and I urge you to call in and talk to her about that. I'm going to take calls. They have to be short questions. I'll have her respond, but please call in at that time.
Okay, Zeb. We'll try to do that if we're around.
I hope so, and I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up, too.
We'll give her a try.
No, but in case I don't hear you call, I'm going to talk about the rejections of people on Medicare, and we'll bring it up in case you don't call.
Yeah. You know, when they first brought this Medicare out and shoved it down our throats, I was working at JRS Import that time, and, man, I couldn't believe it when I seen it on my check stub that took it out, you know. I went into the timekeeper to find out what it was. And what she told me was, it's a good thing because it's going to help you when you retire, when you get up in age with your medical and your prescriptions and everything. I call it med-a-joke because that's just what it is. It was a joke shoved right down our throat.
You know, sir, I don't know how old you are, but I will say this. I don't think we've even seen the tip of the iceberg of a horror movie of healthcare in this country. I think it's going to get far, far worse. And I've also said this many times on my program, that the people that are seniors, 65 and over, are a generation right now of who cares? Nobody. I'm very afraid of a hemlock society to where they're taking away benefits, they're taking away health care, they're taking away Social Security money, and we are seeing a generation of people that are just absolutely being discarded like trash.
Yes, sir, Jeff. You got that correct. I'm 73, so is the wife. And I talked to you here, I think it was last week, about guns and this same thing.
Yes.
And we've got to do something. We've got to try to take back what we used to have. We got to take back America like it used to be.
Amen. I'll tell you one thing right now about insurance, and you're a couple of years older than I am, but not by much, but I want to get your response on this. The number one thing that we need in America today with businesses, insurance companies, etc., is one word: competition. Competition breeds for better policies and lower premiums, and that's the one thing that Obama and his henchmen with his mafia have killed and stifled. They've killed off competition.
Yes, they have. And we'll never get competition back in this country unless we start bringing businesses back in this country.
I agree.
Bring businesses in, jobs in, and get people back on their feet instead of them sitting around taking whatever they can for nothing. I really get upset when I think about it.
I don't blame you at all, and I'm just as mad as you are. Sir, God bless you and your wife. Thank you so much, and I hope she's going to be okay.
Oh, she'll come out okay. We'll make her.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much, and the best of all blessings to you. Thank you very much. Very nice man right there. I absolutely cringe when I hear stories of people that are not getting the coverage that they have paid for. I just get so mad that you don't want to hear some of the things I say off the air. I'm just frustrated that in this country, of everything that we have, everything that we've been blessed with, and we have stupid, very selfish leadership. Don't forget, Roger Morley, Jerome County Commissioner, is running for District 3 again to serve you as a Jerome County Commissioner. And he's also on the Jerome County Planning and Zoning Commission, and he wants your vote again on November 8th. Roger has the experience needed to make a great county commissioner. So don't forget, next November 8th, next Tuesday, Roger Morley, Jerome County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by Morley for Commissioner, Lorraine Morley, Treasurer. Also, talking about Jack Nelson. Hello, Jack Nelson. He's running for CSI Zone 3 trustee. Member of the Jerome Planning and Zoning Committee, member of the Mid-Snake Water Commission, and he's also a former teacher at CSI. So he knows all about CSI, and he wants to help CSI go to the future by being a CSI Zone 3 trustee. Jack Nelson, paid for by Jack Nelson for CSI Trustee Zone 3, and thank you. Don't forget to vote on November 8th. By the way, too, our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, I'm catching up here a little bit, folks, and then take some more calls. Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Don't forget, call Ramsey's at 678-0459. And remember, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Oh, and one final thought here. Don't forget, on Tuesday's Dr. History. Yesterday, Gary Shorsman did a phenomenal job of filling in for Dr. History. And it's brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. All your lumber packages, windows, Western windows, you better believe it, and all the shingles, everything including the Tartar Farm and Ranch gates and panels at Minnecasia Sales. Thank you for sponsoring Dr. History. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. One thing that I want to mention this morning, and this is a little spooky to me, because out of the top 15 of the people I'm going to mention, 5 of those people have been on my show frequently. What is going on right now? The Southern Poverty Law Center has developed a list of what they talk about their top 15 anti-Muslim people that are now being called anti-Muslim extremists. And 5 of the top 15 have been on my program many, many times. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning to you. You and I are called the useless eaters, so that's why they don't want to pay medical benefits to anybody that's basically over 65 because we cost too much. Mm-hmm. And we don't contribute anything to society according to the gurus with the big skulls and the know-it-alls and so forth. But it's all about the going to a single-payer system. And a lot of places now, they're down to one choice. We see the premiums, my premiums for supplemental insurance have quadrupled in the last 3 years. So I think most of us are feeling the effects of that on our budgets. And but your last comment about the Southern Poverty Law Center, Morris Dees runs that thing. It's really a radical, pro-communist, socialist outfit, and to be on their list would be a badge of patriotic honor.
Yep.
Because these people want to destroy our country any way they can. Unfortunately, the FBI, which we know is certainly not up to snuff now, they have taken out of any reference to terrorism and Muslims from their playbook or their books now. And so it's a pretty serious situation that's happening.
Yep.
When you have let's face it, the Muslim Brotherhood runs our State Department.
Yeah.
Just look at the actions.
Well, I'm going to...
After, just like this speaker that was here, this Philip Haney, who was in Twin Falls this last weekend, and had written the book, and you can get on Amazon, See Something, Say Nothing. This guy was a whistleblower. They went after him for criminal charges for exposing what's going on and the terrorist activities and so forth. So the Southern Poverty Law Center is not our friend.
It's the enemy.
I agree with you, Adrian. I gotta jump in here, Adrian.
Is because it tells you a lot about our media, which, of course, is trying to drag Hillary across the finish line.
I agree with everything you said, and I'm going to announce the names that have been on my program in just a few minutes. I've got to get a weather forecast in here, so stay tuned, and I'll announce some of those names that have frequently been on my program. So stay tuned. Thank you for your comments this morning.
All
right. I'm going to get into those names in just a moment, and we'll talk about that some more. And what he said, what Adrian just said, is absolutely true. I've got to get a weather forecast in here real quick, and the weather's brought to you by our friends at the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland in Burley. Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin Falls. And Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care, a cut, a strain, a sprain, whatever. Oh, and they've got all your flu shots, too. Yes, sirree, Bobby. So you get a hold of them today, the Urgent Cares. I'll tell you more right after this weather forecast.
Looks like we're in a high-pressure system for the next couple of days, and as we move on into the weekend, weather for this November 2nd looks like sunny skies, high of 54 with an overnight low of 30. Tomorrow, sunny and 60 with an overnight low of 32. Sunny skies for the weekend. Looks like highs are going to be in the low to mid-60s. Lows are going to be in the mid-30s, and for Sunday, mostly sunny skies, high right around 60. Yesterday's high was 51. The overnight low was 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
That sounds pretty good, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Kyle James and the crew. Riverview Urgent Care, Burley. Twin Falls Urgent Care, Twin Falls. Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. Stop in and see them today. Real quick, too, hello, everybody over at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Hayburn. How you doing? Ark Animal Hospital, where they have warm hearts for cold noses. I love that. And they've been voted Mini-Cash's best veterinary hospital for multiple years. Dr. Bill, Dr. Liz, everybody else serving you. It's a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all at Ark Animal Hospital. Really good folks taking care of your animals. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I was wondering if you like the smell of cabbage in urine.
What?
Well, John Podesta said that's what Hillary smells like, and she doesn't really care to bathe, but they take that head and they try to clean it up a little. And you know, when you study these people and find out we already knew they were dysfunctional, but they were lazy and depraved, and you know, these people have no sense of anything anymore. It seems as though, but when Podesta says she stunk, I thought it was fun.
You know, Randy.
Urine and something else.
Now, Randy, I tell you what, we can. You and I, after saying something like that, you and I will be accused of slandering Hillary, etc. But what you said has been repeated by people that are around her daily, 24/7, 365. John Podesta is one of her close, quote-unquote, confidants. And when I heard that the first time, I thought, holy buckets, why doesn't America go down to the grocery store today and send her a whole case of Right Guard?
Well, good, you know, a bath would be good. And there is some evidence that she has a bag, a urine bag or something. I guess it's in case she's doing a debate and she can't go relieve herself. And
well, on this program, my friend, on this program, we go to any length to give the information to our public.
Hey, one more thing. Did you see how the FBI released that information about Clinton just before he left office? He pardoned Mark Rich.
Yeah.
He's a straight-up felon criminal.
Yeah.
And, you know, they can pardon some of these people because it's on the, you know, it might be a little bit gray. This guy was straight-up criminal felon, and he pardoned him, and then, you know, the FBI released that information this morning, or yesterday, whenever it was. I didn't know if you knew about
I did, but I got to also tell you about, did you see on tape this morning Big Bubba Bill was doing a on-the-stump speech for Hillary, and he was bragging about Obama with Obamacare and everything. And one lady in the audience, I think it was a lady, I never did see who yelled it up, but they said, well, wait a minute, you said that Obamacare is the craziest thing that ever happened. And Bill Clinton disavowed it, pointed his finger at her, and basically denounced this person. So on the news this morning, I got to give credit to Fox and Friends this morning. They went back and got the tape of Bill Clinton about a month ago saying, well, I think Obamacare is the craziest thing I ever heard. My goodness. And he kept railing against Obamacare. That just shows you that either Bill Clinton is a liar or he's losing his mind.
Well, they're so dysfunctional that we have no idea the dysfunctionality of people that are like this. See, you and I still think that there's something might be, there might be some grounded principles in their lives, but you see, there is no such thing in we just have no idea what it's like to be like them, and it's just hard for us to understand. It is truly an unbelievable thing, and it has nothing to do with her just wanting power, and of course, whatever she can gain from it.
I agree.
I mean, after you got so many million, what do you do? What do you do with it?
Yeah. Randy, a word of advice to you, my dear friend, and I want you to take this as a real precautionary measure for the rest of this day. If you decide to eat at a restaurant, do not order the cabbage salad.
Hey, just a little quick note. I've been up in Cary working on a job, and I can drive all the way to Cary, drive north of Powell, over to Diedrich, over to Richfield, up to Cary, and I park at the job out towards Littlewood Reservoir, and I can hear this program all the way up there, all the way. Listen to it up there.
I want you to take a sign or a group of signs next week, and I want you to put them at every 10-mile interval. I can still hear Zeb. I can still hear Zeb. I can still hear Zeb, and put those on the roadway, okay?
Well, what we need is those people in Blaine County to maybe listen, and they might learn something. But you see, this is what the deal is with liberals, environmentalists. They have no intentions of ever listening, and there is no logic to their arguments. But there's so many people out here that don't know any better.
Yeah.
That are fooled by it.
Randy, I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks much.
You bet, Mike.
All righty. Hey, I want to get this list in here really quick because it concerns me. Southern Poverty Law Center calling my friends that have been on this program numerous times anti-Muslim extremists. Now, some of the names you will recognize, I am sure. Number one on their anti-Muslim extremist list, Brigitte Gabriel. She is a very dear friend of mine. She has been on here many times. She will be on in the future. Another one, Pamela Geller. Another one, Ryan Morrow, has been on my program many times. He is one of the most revered and respected terrorist experts in the world, advising many in our nation's politics. They put him on the list, along with Robert Spencer. He's been on our list, our show many times. David Horowitz was just on my program a couple of weeks ago. And this Southern Poverty Law Center, these group of liberal, biased, absolute loons, are now cozying up to the Muslims, saying, well, we'll protect you. We'll nail these people on a 15-person list as being anti-Muslim, and we'll go after them. All I want to say to these people on this list, whether it's Brigitte Gabriel, whether it's David Horowitz, whether it's Ryan Morrow, whomever, hang tough. Don't weaken. Don't quit. Keep telling the truth. Oh, my goodness. I want to remind you, too, about what's going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I had a list of things, and the list is so big, to talk about winter driving, fall and winter driving. Now, first of all, at all the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, I want to urge you now, don't wait for the last minute, now to talk about the snow and the ice tires and the tires that are the all-season tires. I mean, they've got such a wide, varied array of different tires to fit your driving conditions. So get in there and talk to them about it today and find out about the snow chains. Find out about all the snow tires. Find out about your battery. Is it in good shape to really get you through the winter? Does it have the reserve power to really keep turning that pickup and that car over? Well, you need to get in there and check it out today. They are concerned about your safety. So stop in and see any one of the 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Center. Stop in and see them today. Oh, my goodness, what have we got coming up next hour? We've got Dave Beagle. By the way, this weekend, his Indianapolis Colts are going to play my Green Bay Packers, and so we'll see what that's going to be like. And we're going to talk about politics and a lot of other things. And then at 9:30, we have, of course, Todd Gassiano, and he's going to be talking about the Electoral College. So we got a lot of things coming up this 6 hour, but right now we're going to have this word for Mike Crapo, and then Wheels is going to take us up to CBS News. Oh, my. It never hurts to turn the microphone on, does it, Wheels? I'm sitting here talking to myself, and then I realized it wasn't going anywhere. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, the word reliable comes into play when you talk about Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Very reliable service to get your garbage and get rid of it. I'm telling you, these are the best. Locally owned and operated. Get on the route service today. All you have to do is call them at 734-6969. The best, the most reliable. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Oh, my goodness sakes, we got a lot of things to tell you about, but quickly, before we go to Dave Bego, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Don't forget, whether it's gas furnaces, air conditioners, or heat pumps, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. And real quick, before we go to Dave, also a reminder about our dear friends and your dear friends in our community, and that's, of course, Hanson Mortuary, and they're located at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, number to remember, 436-5636. 436-5636. Joel Heward, his family, staff, I mean, they're always there with flexible hours to serve you. When there's a passing of a loved one, don't forget, they always uphold the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please call them, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. Here's my buddy back in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana, Dave Bego, and I'm going to start the conversation by saying, Cubs win! Cubs win! Holy cow!
You there?
I hope so. I just hurt myself. Go ahead.
Well, I wondered heard, you kind of went quiet. Yeah, that's great. They won last night. Now, unfortunately, they have to go back to Cleveland for the final game.
Well, they've been in Cleveland last night, and they whooped them 9-3. So I'm looking forward to tonight. The bats have been woken up, the alarm clock went off, and the big boys are hitting the ball out of the park. I am encouraged that the Cubs, will be the World Series champions.
Well, Zeb, I hope they are, and we'll see. We'll see. We'll raise some wine to them if they do.
I knew you were going to bring that up because I'm ready and willing to go ahead and bet another of this 575 bottles of wine that I already owe you because your Colts are going to be playing my Packers this weekend. Go ahead. Tell me what the deal is.
The Colts will lose. Packers should win easily. I'm so frustrated with the Colts right now, and their coaching staff and their front office. It's everybody around here is just shaking their heads.
Wow, I'm really sorry to hear about that because honestly, I think that's a great franchise and I hate to see this happen. Dave, let's talk a little bit about politics this morning because we have 6 days left. And in the remaining 6 days, I think you'll admit and agree with me, never in my adult life have I seen so many extenuating circumstances prevail themselves this close to a major presidential election. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you, Zeb, but, you look at the history of Hillary and her husband and the Clinton family, on their side of the ball, it doesn't surprise me at all. And, I think as far as the FBI, I'm sure that he was intimidated back in July by the administration or given direct orders, and he finally decided to come out after anyway. And but I don't know if it's too late to really hurt her and help Trump or not. I still think it's going to go down to the wire.
When you say it's going to go down to the wire, and what is the general feeling in your voting area? Have there been a lot of people that have maybe changed their mind over all these illegalities that Hillary's campaign is starting to show? I mean, as far as the emails, the money from the corrupt Clinton administration foundation, all of this thing. Have a lot of people changed their minds?
You mean away from Hillary?
Yes, yes.
This is a pretty conservative state, so you don't really hear a lot of talk about it. And our biggest thing right now, to be honest with you, is not as much the presidential election. And of course, we have the vice president candidate, and but we've got some tough Senate race here between Evan Bayh, who used to be a senator here, and he's a long-standing Democrat, and I talk about him in my book, trying to pass the Employee Free Choice Act that would give employees rights away to a secret ballot election to decide if they want to be in the union, and and he's talking about on the airways how he's for people and for giving people rights and all that kind of stuff, and the Republican Party hasn't any backbone to go out and expose him for what he really is, and those are the type of things that concern me here.
Dave, with your business and with the people that you know back in that area and around the United States, I'm going to say this, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't hear anything. The unions, in my opinion, aren't saying as much as they have in previous elections. Why are they so quiet, or am I wrong?
They are, and I think the big part is they're trying to stay out of the limelight, so people like me and you and others don't really expose them. I've noticed that the SEIU, since I beat them in their corporate campaign, they are a lot more discreet in how they do that. They don't use the media. They try and stay out of the limelight as more than they do. But behind the scenes, having said that, I think the unions, and not including the SEIU, have already donated something like $110 million to Hillary. And I'm sure the SEIU has added another bunch to that because they are behind her big time.
As far as what the big problems are in this election, and I'm sure that I don't know how you're affected with your company, etc., but Obamacare is coming home to roost right now by really settling in and creating havoc with an increase in premiums. I know that our family has already been hurt. My wife's health policy has gone up over $300 a month. What about Obamacare? What about your business, and how about the people that have been affected already back in your area?
Oh, yeah, the premiums have gone up significantly over the last couple of years, and the deductibles are just crazy out of reach, and it's hurting people. And here's the other way it hurts us in our business, though, Zeb. We have a lot of competitors that are just only working people part time, and they're not even providing health care and benefits, so they don't even have to get involved in it. And we're seeing a lot of that across the country right now, and it's sad. And the other thing we're seeing a lot of is businesses, because the economy and part of it's Obamacare, are cutting back on cost drastically across the board because of the economy and the cost of Obamacare.
I was just handed this a little bit ago, Dave, a brand new article that you had written, I believe. What if they left? Would you like to make a comment on that article, please?
Well, I didn't write the article, but it was sent to me, and what I did is I attached a bunch of my blogs on this. But there was an article in the Denver newspaper this week that a guy wrote on how much illegal aliens are costing, and open borders are costing this country.
Right.
And when you go down, and he talks about all the things, because we're providing them entitlement programs, schooling for their kids. They're dropping wages in this country because a lot of these people are either working for less or they're working under the table. It just goes on and on. Things I've talked in my blogs about for the past 2 years. And it was shocked me that it came out of Denver, which is a pretty liberal city. And basically the guy's saying if 20 million illegal aliens were gone, and we upheld our laws in this country, and that's what he's talking about, upholding our laws, it would save us $538 billion a year.
Wow.
Think about that.
$538 billion a year. Wow.
Yep.
Right now, Dave, we're seeing the seniors in our country, and quite frankly, I am a senior, and you're so much younger than I am, but the seniors are taking it on the chin right now with the extremely high premiums, the laxity in care, or the absolute not having the care with their doctors, etc. It's almost like we're creating a hemlock society for our elderly here in the United States. What are your comments on that?
Well, I think it is, and it's because we're in this administration and that believes in entitlement programs, giving people out to people at all levels, so they don't have to work in that, but they do it to get votes. And in the end, what it's doing, it's hurting the money that should be going towards our seniors and Medicare and stuff like that. And it's really sad, Zeb, and people need to wake up in this country. All this with the Democratic Party and the far left and the union bosses, this is all to gain control, get votes and gain control of this country, and that's what they're trying to do. And if we put Hillary in for another 4 years, I hate to see what happens to this country.
Absolutely. Dave, I'm going to ask your indulgence for about 60 seconds. I've got to get these good words in, and we'll have more with Dave Bego. Don't forget, Lee Hyder is running for re-election for State Senate seat, District 24. The best always stand the test. Don't forget, Idaho Senator Lee Hyder has been very, very diligent working for you and the state of Idaho. So next Tuesday, go to the polls and vote yes for Lee Hyder. Re-election for State Senator, District 24. paid for by Lee Hyder for District Senate Seat 24. Thank you very much. Also, as we've been telling you, vote yes on HJR 5 next Tuesday. Yes vote. Your voice needs to be heard, and you should always be able to hold our state government accountable. Vote yes on HJR 5. Don't let activist courts take away our legislature's authority to approve or reject agency rules. Vote yes on HJR 5. Paid for by Speaker Scott Bedke, Representative Fred Wood, and Senator Kelly Anthon. And last but not least, we want to urge you to go to the polls and re-elect Republican District 25 Senator Jim Patrick. He has served on the Agricultural, Education, and Business Committees and also on the JFAC Committee. So please remember next Tuesday, he wants your vote, and also he urges you to vote yes on HJR 5. Paid for by re-elect Patrick for Senator, Treasurer Jim Patrick. Dave, give us a little scenario this morning as to the negativity and, honestly, the horrific happenings that could happen if the American public votes for Hillary next Tuesday and elects her, and then all the indictments, all the felonious activities, everything that would lead up to a January 21st induction ceremony as president. She might end up in prison by the 1st of February.
Well, there's that chance, but I'm sure that, if she is elected, I'm sure Trump will go after her. I would hope the Republican Party, as I've said before on your show, I am concerned about their lack of backbone, though, in doing things like that. And, we as a country have to expose these people and go after them, just much like I did with the SEIU, and, what they're all about, and that they're not for this country, and they'll do things behind the scenes that lie and intimidate and misinform and bribe people and all that stuff for their own pocketbook instead of what's right for this country. And we got to get the American people to wake up.
Dave, I noticed that 7 states, including my old home state of Wisconsin, have a do-over policy for early voting, that if you want to change your mind and go back in and delete that vote, you can do it again. What's the state of Indiana? Do you have a do-over policy on early voting?
No, we don't. And, but again, our here, I feel pretty good about what's happening here. I am concerned about the Senate race, though, and that's because it's a pretty tight race right now. And Evan Bayh, and I've met Evan Bayh. He is, if you sat down and talked to him, Zeb, he's a nice guy to talk to, but he can't always look you straight in the eye and tell you the truth. And that's what the American people need to know. And I talk about him in my book. When he was trying to get the Employee Free Choice Act passed, he wouldn't look me in the eye, and he didn't even know what was in the bill that was basically written by the unions. And when I called him out on it, and his legislative aide said that I was correct, he just got up and left the room. And this is the things that the American people need to know. Unfortunately, in this country, we have a real problem with the mainstream media. They won't talk about this stuff because they're in bed with the left, and or in most cases they're afraid of them and afraid of the union bosses because of the intimidation behind the scenes.
What you just said, Dave, and I've only got a couple of minutes left, but what you just said about senators and the Senate itself, the Senate races are, I think, in some cases much more important than the presidential race because of the confirming of various nominations, like for the Supreme Court, etc. And voting for a senator is, I think, extremely critical in this election. I think you'll agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, and that's why I brought it up, Zeb, and because I think that's just as important, if not more important, than the presidential race. They need to keep control of the Senate and the House, and, we need people to get out there and support our Republican senators in that. And then if that gets done, the Republican Party, the Senate and the House need to have some backbone.
Okay, so to give kind of a wrap-up, this weekend the Colts play the Packers. The Packers are on the injury list to the point where I think they've lost like 7 or 8 starters. And you still think my Packers are going to beat your Colts. And tonight, the World Series, I need a prediction on that. Cubs or the Indians? Who's going to be the world's champion?
Well, I think the Cubs will win, and I think the Packers will win. The Colts have some injuries too, and that's hurting them. But their defense just doesn't stand up, and their offensive line is not protecting Andrew Luck the way they need to. So it just doesn't look good for the Colts.
Well, I guess in other words, we're each going to buy our own doggone bottle of wine and sit and enjoy it by ourselves.
Yeah, I think we are, Zeb. I think that's where this is going. And hey, just one last thing I want to tell you real quick is the SEIU actually protested one of our customers down in Cincinnati over the weekend. And what was interesting, we think it was for 2 things. One, their contract for union contractors down there is up, and they're just using us as an example. They're trying to renegotiate their contract with union contractors, but there's a gal that's on the city council that's running for mayor, and she is a staunch union person, and I think they just chose this building, which is the tallest building in downtown Cincy, to do it. And but they never brought up on their signs or their chants, they never brought up our name.
Oh, my goodness. Dave, it's always a pleasure to talk to you because of your knowledge, your wisdom, and besides that, I owe you all that wine. Have a great day, and we'll look forward to talking to you next Wednesday, the day after the election, and hopefully we'll have grins on our faces and we'll be happy. But take care and God bless, my dear friend.
Well, thank you very much. And by the way, it was all 80 degrees here yesterday, or 79. It's supposed to be close to the same today.
Oh, my goodness. I'm on the way back. Break out the golf clubs. Thanks, Dave Bego. God's blessings.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, buddy. Thank you. My good friend, excuse me for coughing, Dave Bego back in Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, I noticed there was what we call a VoIP, VoIP, on the phone line, and that was not the fault of us on this end. It evidently was a phone wire or whatever back in Indianapolis, so I apologize to my listeners for that, but that was something that we here cannot control, so I apologize for that. We got to get some spots in here real quick and remind everybody, Scott Bedke, State Representative and Speaker of the House, District 27A, urges you to go vote next Tuesday, November 8th. And he urges you to exercise your right to vote and vote yes on HJR 5. And be sure and bring your picture ID when you go to the voting polls. Scott Bedke, Speaker of the House and State Representative, District 27A, paid for by Representative Scott Bedke, District 27A. Thank you very much. Also, I got a lot of other people to talk about, and Rick Martin is running for CSI trustee. Yes, he is. Zone number 2. Rick Martin wants your vote next Tuesday, November 8th, and he is a graduate of Twin Falls High School. And he's also a graduate of the United States Air Force Police Academy. He wants to make CSI bigger, better, and friendlier, and he wants your vote next Tuesday, November 8th. Rick Martin for CSI Trustee, District 2, paid for by Rick Martin for CSI Trustee, Rick Martin Treasurer. And when we talk about the good guys, I've got to talk about my dear friend, and yes, he is, State Senator Kelly Anthon, and he's running unopposed in District 27. A very conservative man representing the Minnecasia community, and he's been involved in the community for a long, long time as Burley City Attorney and Rupert City Attorney, and he encourages everyone to get out and vote next Tuesday, November 8th, and vote yes on HJR 5. Paid for by the re-elect Kelly Anthon for State Senate, District 27 Committee, with the co-chairs Denton Darrington, Dean Cameron, and the lovely Elaine Stevenson, Secretary. Thank you very much. In just a few minutes, we're going to have an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation on the air. And we're going to have quite a chat about the Senate and the Electoral College. And Todd Gassiano is the attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation that wrote a great piece called The Most Important Matter Voters Can Affect in November. And I'm really looking forward to having him on my program, so stay tuned for that. Oh, boy, on a Wednesday, beautiful day outside. Look at that sunshine and everything else. It's fantabulous. Let's not forget our friends over at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And old Nick, and the crew invite you to come on by. They're getting brand new snow machines in every single day. Yeah, I know. The snow is coming. Be ready and have a brand new snowmobile this year from Let's Ride. And they're also having great closeout prices on most of the 2016 four-wheelers and side-by-sides. Oh, that's where we got our four-wheelers. Greatest thing we ever did, honestly. And they've got a fantastic accessory department and a service department that absolutely is second to none. So you stop over and see them at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. By the way, if you're over in that area, I would heartily suggest you call the professionals in the insurance business, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. We were over there and saw old Todd yesterday. Had a good visit with him. All your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, they will and they can help you. So please call for an appointment today at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, honestly, serving you. What nice people. Okay, let's see, what else have I got? Tomorrow on the program, I want to remind you that it's our Thursday with the Chamber Report with Kyla, and then we have Dog Nation. We've got Rita Ramsey coming on to talk about all of our politics. Oh, man, this is going to be interesting tomorrow. Rita and I are going to share a lot of ideas about what's going to happen just a mere 4 or 5 days before the polls open. And we've got our business salute tomorrow. We've got Cassia County School Days. I understand we're going to have the head of the culinary department at Burley High School is going to be on there. Nice man. He's been on before, and I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, what else have we got cooking here? Oh, yes, more of our politicos running for office, and we want to remind everybody about a good friend of ours, Clark Kaufman, State Representative, District 25B. He encourages you to get out and vote next Tuesday, November 8th, and vote yes on HJR 5, an amendment to the Idaho Constitution to ensure the separation of powers of the executive and legislative branches. Don't forget to vote next Tuesday, November 8th, and this ad paid for by the committee to re-elect Clark Kaufman, Debbie Kaufman, treasurer. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Let's find out what's going on with a gentleman that's been on our program before, an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation, Todd Gassiano. Good morning, Todd. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for having me back on your program.
Now, let me know, how was that elaboration of your name? Gassiano, was that correct?
Well, that was not only correct, it was very enthusiastic. So I'm excited if you're excited.
Well, I understand Gassiano has got to be Italian, right?
It certainly is. There was a boxer who had a little more common with an R in it, Graziano, but somehow in Sicily my ancestors dropped the R. Okay.
Now, I would imagine that if I mentioned the great dish called pasta bazool, you've had that, have you not?
Yes, and I imagine most Americans have, whether they realize it or not.
Okay. I used to, when I was in college, I went back summers and I worked in New York City, lived on Staten Island, and the family I lived with was Italian, and I know all about the best of wines and the best of pasta bazool.
Very good, very good. Well, you're making me hungry.
Okay. Todd, you wrote a very interesting piece called The Most Important Matter Voters Can Affect in November. Give us a little background on this article.
Sure, and the title is a bit of a teaser. I think we might admit that the presidency, if we could affect it, might be more important, I'm focusing on the Senate races in each individual state, but I'm surprised it's maybe as close as it is. But most times the Electoral College count isn't that close, and voters in a particular state don't have an impact unless it's like the 2000 election again. But individual senators, and this is the theme and thesis of my piece, make a consequential difference all the time in some terribly important matters. And they can even do so whether they're in the majority party or not. But this year we have a double importance in the individual Senate elections. It may be so close that one extra senator decides control, and that makes a big difference as far as the type of candidates whoever is elected president can nominate for confirmation. I also give some examples in that piece, which will be in Investors Business Daily in the next couple of days, of how individual senators have made a difference for good and for bad on Supreme Court confirmation fights. Some have been terribly close, and just one or two senators standing up, saying the right things and the wrong things, have made a difference.
So I guess the gist of the whole story is, and I think a lot of people forget this when they go to the polls, that the Senate, with the power that they have and what they can wield, like you mentioned in your article, like Senator Ted Kennedy and others while they were in office, they can actually turn our political system upside down, can't they?
They can, and there is still a filibuster that's allowed for the Supreme Court confirmations. But beyond that, some of them command an awful lot of power and control. The one example I gave of Bork confirmation hearings is that Ted Kennedy, within hours of President Reagan nominating Bork, gave this very unfair, untrue, misleading speech called Judge Bork's America. And at that time, the other side wasn't prepared for that kind of a demonizing fight. And Ted Kennedy's speech created the narrative and created the kind of led to the attack line that ultimately helped defeat Judge Bork. But in other cases, individual senators have stood up, like Senator Hatch and some others did when Clarence Thomas's confirmation, which was the closest in over a century. And 11 Democrats voted with the Republicans, but the Democrats were in the majority, so you needed 11 Democrats to vote to confirm Clarence Thomas, and he's just celebrated his 25th anniversary on the Supreme Court. We're all so much better for the contributions that Justice Thomas has made.
Let me ask you this, and there's quite a wide array of questions I have for you, Todd, regarding this article. But where are we with the state of affairs today in this election? Everybody is yelling either in favor or against of either Trump or Hillary. But with all the problems, all the potential indictments, all the legal problems, all the felonious activities, everything that are hanging over Hillary, we could, and I'd like you to talk about this a little bit, we could end up with a president-elect that might be in prison by the time January 21st rolls around for her induction to be president of the United States. She might be on her way to jail.
That's a possible scenario. My guess is, and this isn't my area of expertise except to say what is further possible under the pardon power, if she were elected, but subject to some serious indictment, it's certainly possible for Obama to pardon her, which I suppose is possible. But the fact of the matter is, one important question for voters in the Senate elections is going to be whether the party tries to cover up, the party in control of the Senate tries to cover up serious allegations that are still out there, or investigations that still need to be completed, or whether a party is going to look seriously into that. And I say that, by the way, regardless of which president is elected.
You're right.
Trump has some tendencies toward unilateral action that might mimic Obama's. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that I think either of the presidential candidates may try to go it alone more than they should. So I think that from my constitutional perspective rather than political perspective, I think we need an invigorated Congress.
Absolutely.
And when going back to the confirmation issues, George W. Bush nominated Harriet Miers, and the Republicans did not go along. They, I think, properly pointed out that she was not the kind of serious candidate they wanted on the Supreme Court. So regardless of what president is nominated, I hope we have a invigorated Congress that truly acts independently and supports our individual rights and constitutional protections.
Todd, I'm going to ask you this next question. Bear with me on the length of it. But I have talked recently, as the last couple of days, to many, many people that have an animosity against the Electoral College. When they showed the map on television of Hillary and she has the electoral votes here in this state, that state, and everything else, I think, and I've said this for a long time, I know we need the Electoral College because it's an equalizer. But I also think by showing these maps 5-6 days before the election, well, Hillary has this and Hillary has that, I think it is a freeze-out for people not to go to the polls and vote because they feel like their vote doesn't mean anything. How would you respond to that?
Well, I think the Electoral College is still worth defending for a number of reasons, and you should go to the poll. I go to the poll to vote against people. It makes me feel good. But there are these Senate races, House races, a lot of other state offices that are more important for voters in any individual states. But back to the Electoral College. Without it, candidates would only campaign in big media markets.
Yep.
To hoover up votes in the big cities. They would ignore states like yours and others that the elites disdain as flyover country. So that's one problem. The other is that the close races that may decide to the Electoral College are not in the one-party states. And in one-party states, you can engage in fraud and get away with it. In the closer states where these things, we only need a recount in Florida, for example, but you have election watchers from both parties present in a state that's equally divided. So the Electoral College has this unintended effect. It wasn't originally thought that there would be direct election for president. They thought the state legislators would exercise the Electoral College. But it has the added benefit that people in, let's say, California or New York can't pile on for their favorite candidate, which would be the case that they could, and they could probably get away with it in certain districts if it were just a national vote total election.
Right. Very well stated, Todd. Very well. Let me ask you a couple of questions about your thoughts on, I've said many times that I believe that this election next Tuesday, November 8th, will be and is the most important election of my lifetime here in this United States because of not the presidency per se, but what the president might do as far as that Supreme Court and the acknowledgement or the disavowing of our amendments as they are today. Your thoughts?
Well, the Supreme Court certainly is in the balance, and these, as Justice Thomas's 25th anniversary shows, they can have influence on the court long after the presidency. But what we had was a situation with Justice Scalia on the court where Justice Kennedy would go kind of both ways. So it wasn't a conservative court, it wasn't a liberal court, it was a somewhat balanced court that often got things right. But what you have is four, I would say, progressive activists on the court who tend to just go for the result rather than what the Constitution originally guaranteed and what it really means. If the Scalia seat was replaced by someone with that same results-oriented attitude, there would be 5 such members on the court, whether they, could convince Kennedy to go along with them or not. But that would be enough control to, essentially etch a progressive constitution on us without any constitutional, amendment under Article 5 of our Constitution. That would be very bad. We have protection for speech in Citizens United. It's not half. It's a great opinion, actually. It's not half what the attackers say it is, but it would be overruled. Second Amendment rights potentially would be overruled. These are hard-fought rights, and we ought to take them very, very seriously.
And the potentiality of the next president having to replace not one to the Supreme Court, but possibly 2, maybe even 3 within the next 4 years, that also is a very scary program to consider.
Absolutely. And what if it were a president who wanted to appoint a bunch of progressive activists, it would not only give control of the court to that wing, but it would then cement it if, say, Ruth Bader Ginsburg retired, who's the current oldest justice on the court for many, many decades. Whereas if someone who took the interpretation of the Constitution more seriously, and I'm not sure that President Trump understands this deeply, but one might hope that the type of people he said he would appoint and the type of people I suppose who suggested those might be advising him, it would be extremely helpful if he nominated someone who really fit the mold of a Scalia, like you said, and the Senate did their job and took seriously their job of confirmation. That could change things. And you're right, yes, there could be 1 or 2 other vacancies on the court in the next 4 years, whether the justices retire or whether natural causes take their seat from them.
I am very honored to have you on the program. Todd Gassiano with the Pacific Legal Foundation. God bless you, sir. It was very interesting. Please promise to come back in the future, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Love to.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. Very interesting and very explanatory about our vote and the Electoral College and how important our senators are. Remember that when you go to the polls next Tuesday, November 8th. We've got to get a weather forecast on here right now, and then I'll take some more of your calls. Come on, give me a jingle. Don't forget the weather brought to you by Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company, as I almost choked to death this morning. Excuse me. And, of course, at Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company, they are the best when it comes to all your tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, financial statement preparation. Curtis Pope, Todd Phillips, Rob Oaks, Mitch Goodwin, and Lyden Crane, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. 2 locations to serve you, 1710 Overland in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like we're in a high-pressure system for the next couple of days, and as we move on into the weekend, weather for this November 2nd looks like sunny skies, high of 54 with an overnight low of 30. Tomorrow, sunny and 60 with an overnight low of 32. Sunny skies for the weekend. Looks like highs are going to be in the low to mid-60s. Lows are going to be in the mid-30s, and for Sunday, mostly sunny skies, high right around 60. Yesterday's high was 51. The overnight low was 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, Gina, thank you. Again, I want to point out the best. And this is the time of the year you need to be getting all the paperwork put together, everything itemized, and be sure and work with the best of CPAs to help you. Whether it's your personal home or your business, whatever, don't forget Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company CPAs. That's right. 2 locations, 1710 Overland in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. All right. I want to get your calls right now at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to mention this. I had a call yesterday from some people back in Washington, D.C., and they said, you need to really urge people to check their ballots in the various states. Now, I know that thanks to the Internet service, we're listened to in many, 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 many states, and as a matter of fact, other countries around the globe. And I understand that many gun control issues, many gun control items are going to be on various state ballots. Be very, very careful out there, audience, whether you're in Idaho or anywhere else, about the wording on various gun issues. In a very subtle way, and sometimes not so subtle way, they are using these different gun control issues on the ballot to create measures of more gun control for the future. So be very cautious. Read the wording very carefully, because the gun control advocates, the Bloombergs and the Soroses and everybody else, they are out there working in very unscrupulous ways to try to limit and take away our Second Amendment. So regardless of whether you're in Texas, I know we got people listening in Texas this morning, or whether it's Indiana, whether it's California, whatever, really read the different measures that are on the ballot and understand what a yes or a no really means. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I am waiting for your call, I'm going to tell everybody that Fred Wood, running unopposed for State Representative District 27. He's going to be on our program next half hour, as a matter of fact. Fred on the Health and Welfare Committee and on the Resources and Environment Committee, a man that listens and works for the people of his district and the state of Idaho. And he wants you to be sure and vote yes on HJR 5 next Tuesday, November 8th. And be sure and take your picture ID with you when you go to vote. Paid for by Fred Wood for House Seat 27. Thank you very much. Also, want to remind you about another gentleman. I'll be right with you, caller. Don't go away. I promise I'm coming. Steve Hartkin, running for State Representative District 24B, a very strong Republican incumbent that wants your vote on November 8th to go back to serve you in the Idaho House of Representatives. Very high conservative rating on wide range of issues, multiple use of public lands, water rights in Idaho, gun rights, Second Amendment, and don't forget to vote for a man that is serving you in our legislature. Steve Hartkin. Vote for him on November 8th, paid for by the Stephen Hartkin Campaign Committee. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning. This is just an old, long-lost buddy traveling through the area. On a lighter, exciting note, calling and say, go Cubs.
Well, I can't recognize this voice, but anybody that would say go Cubs absolutely is a dear friend. Thank you for that. Where are you? Is that Ron?
This is Ron.
You got to be kidding me. My wife came in and she just yelled at me. She says, I won't tell you what she called me, but she said, that's Ron Ellis. My goodness.
Well, we need to brush off just some of the news of the election and the dirt and stuff, and have something light and fun, and that's going to be exciting, this game.
You know, Ron, I'm so glad to hear from you. And audience, this is one of my dearest friends that we've put on a lot of events together, and Ron is the epitome of being a gentleman. And how you been anyway?
I've been doing really good, Zeb. You know, you and I don't know if you have, but I think we turned the calendar on the clock again another year, didn't we?
We did, and may I extend to you happy birthday and well wishes, and the door is always open for you to come by and visit. But I want to ask you about politics just a little bit, even though we're talking about a lighter matter with the Cubs. Ron, you're heavily involved in politics, and you're also made a living in agriculture. What does this next election mean as far as the future for agriculture here in the United States?
Well, I think, Zeb, it could be a huge turning point for any industry, and ag will be no exception. I mean, we're going to have more and more regulation, heaped up on regulation, and we will have tougher times getting chemistry to the market because of stiffer regulations and the cost of doing that. So I think the folks out there need to know that as far as their food supply is concerned, we need to really consider when we go to the ballot box. We need to recognize our God-given right and our freedoms and liberties we have to go vote, and make sure you do it. But consider the consequences.
You know, let me ask you, Ron, you mentioned the word regulations. Our country and our American farmers are underneath severe scrutiny, and they are the best farmers raising the most reliable food source of anywhere in the world. But yet this government, what we have now, and possibly the next administration, they keep wanting to open the doors more for food coming in from foreign countries that doesn't have nearly the scrutiny as ours does. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head, Zeb. You're exactly right. I mean, even though we do have the best producers and we grow the best crops and the cleanest and most healthiest crops, we are under heavy pressure all the time. No other country has the regulations that we do when it comes to our food supply and food safety. So it'll just be, like I said earlier, just regulations heaped upon regulations. It's just going to make it so tough to navigate. Granted, we're going to have to continue producing food, but it's going to be under a lot more duress, I believe, if certain things take place in this election.
Well, I can't tell you how good it is to hear from you. And like I said, if you happen to be, and of course I know you drive within the confines of the speed limit, but if you happen to be driving by, just turn your blinker on and turn in and say hello.
Yeah, I need to do that. We need to do it. We need to get caught up and tell your good missus hello, and you guys have a happy, blessed Thanksgiving.
Oh, God bless you, my dear friend, Ron Ellis. Thank you, Ron. Take care of yourself.
You bet. Go Cubs.
All right. Go Cubs, go. There's Ron Ellis. That is one of the nicest people that I have ever had a chance to work with over the many, many years on this radio program. And used to live in the Burley area and now living up towards American Falls, and really miss seeing him on a regular basis. Ron Ellis. I know he's a friend to a lot of people in this area. Thanks, Ron. I appreciate that call. Want to give you a little heads up as to what we're going to be doing over the next hour. Now, next hour at 10:06, we're going to have Representative Fred Wood on the program. And God bless Fred, because he is very, very factual and very knowledgeable about what's going on in politics. And he's going to answer a lot of the questions and concerns of people that maybe have questions about the amendment HJR 5. So we're going to talk about that this next hour. Then at 10:32 this morning, I want to reiterate, we're going to have the most eloquent and educated doctor I've ever had on this program regarding Obamacare, Dr. Elena George from Atlanta, Georgia. And she's going to really tell you about the pitfalls and the negativity of Obamacare as to what it is and how bad it's going to get in the future. So don't forget that at 10:30. But right now, we're going to have this good word for Senator Mike Crapo, and then Wheels is going to play a little music as we go to CBS News. We'll be back with more on Zeb at the Ranch in about 7 or 8 minutes. Look outside. Boy, isn't that pretty sky out there? Beautiful day, Wednesday, November 2. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Get ready for winter. They're ready to serve you. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Want to thank Maxine Bell, State Representative, District 25A. Maxine wants to thank all the people that have allowed her to serve the citizens of Jerome and Twin Falls County and the state of Idaho, and she urges you to get out and vote next Tuesday, November the 8th. Maxine absolutely has enjoyed serving you and wants to continue serving you, as she's been the co-chairman of the Joint Finance Appropriations Committee, and she urges you to vote next Tuesday. Maxine Bell, District 25A, paid for by the Committee for Maxine Bell, State Representative, Linda Burton, Treasurer. And also, Clark Kaufman over in Filer. Yes, good morning to Clark, as he is your District 25B representative, and he encourages you to support and vote yes on HJR 5, which is an amendment to the Idaho Constitution to ensure the separation of powers of the executive and legislative branches. Vote November 8th. Paid for by the committee to elect Clark Kaufman, Debbie Kaufman, treasurer. With that being said, I'm going to talk to right now a well-respected representative for this area, and that happens to be Mr. Fred Wood. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. And how about those Cubs?
I don't know if you are one of these avid fans that jumps out of your lazy boy and struts around the room pumping your fist, but if you are not, I made up for it last night.
Well, the only sad part is, and I'm really sad about it, is I've got a legislative meeting tonight from 6 till 9 that I can't get out of, and so you're going to have to cheer on the Cubs for me tonight.
That will not be a problem, my dear friend, because as my wife stated last night, I yelled so loud inside the front room, our neighbors heard us a half a mile away, so I can take care of that task.
Well, if you would please, I'd appreciate it.
You know, there is one person before we get going this morning that is a little down in the dumps, and he's wearing a frown on his face, and he happens to be a dear friend of yours and mine, and that's poor Cleveland Indian fan Bert Stevenson.
Well, Representative Stevenson is a good man, but he should learn to cheer for the Cubs because they're going to win.
Okay. Fred, let's get real serious on this next issue because you and I have had many, many conversations on the telephone, and you've been on this program. There seems to be a lot of confusion and a lot of questions over HJR 5. And with that being said, I'm going to urge people that have questions to call in and ask you directly answers for their concerns. What are some of the things that you're hearing about HJR 5?
Well, HJR 5, I think, is a little bit misinterpreted because it's more about a check and balance than it is about separation of powers. If you stop and think, Zeb, whenever the legislature makes a law that we have to live under, well, the following checks and balances are as follows. The House of Representatives, the Senate, and the governor have to agree that that piece of legislation is good, and then it goes into law. Another check and balance is that if the legislature and the governor make a law, the citizens can actually, if they don't think that's a good law, by referendum can put that before the voters, and they can overturn that. And we recently saw that with the Luna laws.
Right.
Also, another check and balance is that if the citizens believe that the legislature and the executive branch aren't doing their job, then they can actually go make a law themselves through the initiative process. And a check and balance against that is that the legislature and governor can then either reject that or amend it, etc. So throughout history, and our form of government has always operated on checks and balances, except for the Administrative Procedures Act and the rules process. Idaho is the only state that has a check and balance against rules. There are a couple of other states that have a partial check and balance. So the way everybody else operates is that if they're allowed to promulgate rules, they go to the governor's office, they get permission to make a rule, they make the rule, they go back to the governor's office for approval of the rule, and then that's it.
Yeah.
There is no check and balance. In Idaho, we have that check and balance where we say that you have to bring it back to the legislature, and the legislature has to agree with the executive branch of government on the rule that you made. So there's the check and balance. And why is it important to put that or enshrine that in the Constitution? Well, the legislature in Idaho didn't do that before 1970. If I have my history correct, starting in 1970, we did that. And in 1990, somebody objected to that, took that to the Idaho Supreme Court in a case called Meade versus Arnell, and the Idaho Supreme Court ruled 3-2 that the legislature had the authority to do that. Now, we want to enshrine it in the Constitution so that some activist court in the future won't decide that they don't like what the legislature is doing, so they're going to turn it completely over to the executive branch alone without a check and balance.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, please, for Representative Fred Woods.
Hi, Dr. Wood. Hey, it's Valerie Jones, and I just want to say thank you. I don't know if you know this, but I just became a U.S. citizen last year. Kind of a sad state of affairs for my first election, not statewide, but national. And I have been studying this HJR5, and I was quite confused on it. So just your simple little explanation helped me out a lot, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Fred, I think there's a lot of people that feel that way, and I encouraged, and I have for the last couple of days, people that have questions and concerns to call and ask you directly. I've had many off the air say that I'm wrong. I've had many say off the air that HGR5 is bad, and I'm glad you're here this morning to explain it. And I want you to elaborate on this and tell me if I'm wrong on my concept. HJR5 basically, to me, gives me, if you'll allow this terminology, a funnel system for me to complain about something and go to my legislative representative rather than have to try to appeal to the office of the governor or whomever. That's what the legislative process is all about, for me to tell you as a representative, I want something changed.
That's exactly right, Zeb. What it is, it's the check and balance against the runaway executive branch that we're seeing in the federal system. I think that the federal system, more than a balanced budget amendment, they need a constitutional amendment that allows the Congress to review any rule that is proposed by the executive branch or promulgated by the executive branch. If Congress had that ability, guess what? There wouldn't be any Obamacare. Obamacare would be gone because they couldn't promulgate any rules to put it into effect. So that's what this is about, Zeb. It's a check and a balance. So you know me personally, and if there's a rule in agriculture or a rule in the Department of Health and Welfare or a rule in whatever agency that you and the rest of the citizens would say, hey, this doesn't work. You could come to the legislature, which, I mean, I live right down the road from you. You'd call me up and say, Fred, this doesn't work. Don't pass that rule. Don't let that state agency get away with what they're trying to do. And when that rule comes up for review, we'd reject the rule.
Absolutely. We have another caller with a question. Go ahead, please. You're on the air.
I just have a quick question. I was told that Butch Otter has done a commercial to vote no on this bill, and I'll hang up and listen to your answer.
Okay, the question was regarding Butch Otter and his negativity all of a sudden on HJR5. Fred, respond to that, please.
Okay, I will not speak to the governor's motive for why he's doing what he's doing. He's on a trade mission in China, and he'll be back Saturday, and he can speak for himself. Governor Otter supported HJR2 2 years ago. It's exactly the same thing. Why he changed his position, I don't know. During the legislative session, it's my understanding, he had no problem with HJR5. That's just this past legislative session. He did not have any problem with HJR5. I do not know why he has changed his mind. I just have to respectfully disagree with the governor. I think he's wrong about this. This is a check and balance. It's not a separation of powers issue so much. And this is just to prevent a runaway executive branch at some point in time in the future in the state of Idaho. As to why he changed his mind, he'll have to speak for himself.
I respect that, Fred, and thank you. Calls are welcome at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The thing that I would say, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on my thoughts or the way I phrase this, but HJR5, it maybe not so much today, but maybe definitely needed in the future with someone in the executive branch that wants to literally cram something down our throat. Wouldn't you agree to that?
That's exactly right. This is for the future. Idaho has a good conservative Supreme Court now, and it's going to have for the next 10, 15 years. I am very comfortable with that. I don't think that they would go backwards on this. The issue is what happens 15, 20, 25, 30 years from now. Things always change. And we may have some governor that tries to cram something down our throat, and the Supreme Court agrees with that, and they disagree with what the legislature says. Well, now, if you don't have that in the Constitution, then the Idaho Supreme Court could, in the future, take sides against the legislature and for the executive branch, and actually then allow the executive branch to legislate. And that's why this needs to be in the Constitution. Let me say this. My cell phone number is 208-312-1056. Again, 312-1056. Any listener today can call me at any point in time and have a thorough, lengthy discussion of any of this that they want to talk to me about, or yell and do whatever you want to me. But I'd be happy to explain at length any of this kind of a thing. Just call me after the program or any time between now and Election Day, and I'll be happy to talk to any of the listeners today. Thank you, Zeb.
You know, Fred, I'd like you to call out on the table the people that are saying, I'm not going to vote this year. I don't like any of the presidential candidates. I don't care about that constitutional amendment. I don't care anymore. What in the world is going on? A week ago in the Times News, they interviewed, and they were mostly people under 30, that have developed a blasé, don't care, not going to vote attitude. What are we going to do to get people to take pride in being a patriot in this great United States, Fred?
Well, that is the sole thing that will allow us to lose our democracy as we know it. I get the fact that a lot of people are somewhat disillusioned with the political process, not the governing process. The governing process as set up by the Founding Fathers is very sound. Now, we all know that the political process has been somewhat distasteful from election to election to election. But I would encourage every single individual listening today, don't fall for that garbage that your vote doesn't count. I mean, in my opinion, the most important vote is this constitutional amendment. The second most important vote is who is going to sit on your Supreme Court.
Yep.
There is a Supreme Court election this year, and everybody ought to be voting for who's going to sit on the Idaho Supreme Court, for goodness sakes. Those people are going to interpret the laws that the legislature and the governor pass that you're going to have to live under. To not want to have a say in who sits on your Supreme Court, I just don't understand that. I'm at a loss, too, Zeb, to explain a little bit some people's attitude about this. But I would encourage everybody to go vote. I mean, you have a month ahead or 3 weeks ahead of time to vote. You don't have to wait till Election Day. I just think it's critical that every single person vote. And I would encourage everybody to do that.
Fred, let me ask you about the Supreme Court nominees for the state of Idaho. And if you agree with me, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. But I feel like that is so critical to have people that are going to be in that kind of power. And yet, I would say that for the nominees to the Supreme Court, maybe the voting public knows less about them than anybody else on the ticket.
You're exactly right. And that's pretty sad, because if you delve down into, well, it's pretty hard for me to say anything because my bias is going to immediately come out. But there is information available on their lawyer rankings. There's information available on their past experiences. There's information available on all kinds of things like that are very important. And you can go on both of them's websites, and I don't know those websites, but you could put that on your program tomorrow, what their websites are, et cetera, Zeb. But it's critical that people become really informed about their past experience, et cetera, because, and don't believe that one versus the other is not conservative. I know both of those people. They're both very conservative people. That's not the issue. The issue is their past experience, et cetera.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to see any more, because I think it would be inappropriate for me to let my bias show. But boy, everybody ought to become completely informed about those two candidates. They are debating tonight, by the way, if I remember correctly. And I don't know the exact time of that, but there is a debate between those two candidates, and I would encourage everybody to find out the time of that.
Absolutely. Now, Fred, I want to ask you one final thought. If I have missed anything, if I have overlooked anything regarding HJR5, I've got about 3 minutes left. Why don't you tell everybody again the value of voting yes on HJR5, and again, add to anything that I might have missed?
HJR5 is a check and balance against a runaway executive branch of government. Everybody understands that at the federal level, the executive branch of government is now a runaway system that has no check and balance against it. That's why we have Obamacare. And even more egregious than the statute in Obamacare is all of the rules that have been promulgated for Obamacare. That's where the real problem exists with Obamacare, is the rules that were promulgated. There is no check and balance against that. Well, in Idaho, we have a check and balance against rules that are proposed by the executive branch of government and the state agencies such as Health and Welfare and DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, etc. The legislature can put a halt to egregious rules that the executive branch makes. And that is the importance of it, Zeb, is that check and balance against a runaway government. And we should not leave that up to a 3-2 decision of the Idaho Supreme Court back in 1990. That check and balance should be enshrined in our Constitution to make sure that forever the people have a check against a runaway executive branch of government.
Absolutely. Real quick, Fred, short answer on this. The legislative session is looming right around the corner in January. Hot issues that you think have to be solved this year at the session?
The final stages of education need to be solved. We need to make sure that we have a balanced budget. I still don't think we have our transportation issues figured out. There will be a couple of health care issues, how we're going to take care of the gap population, et cetera. So those are some of the significant ones that I see coming down the pike at this point in time.
Okay, we have a quick call, and it's got to be short, caller. Go ahead real fast.
Yeah, is there any way we can stop, like, the EPA and the BLM and their rules?
Okay.
I wish there was, but that's the importance of HJR 5, is to make sure that Idaho never gets to the place that the federal government, or at the federal level, where the citizens cannot stop that kind of stuff. That's the importance.
All right. Representative Fred Wood, always welcome on this program. Sir, thank you very much, and I'll leave you with a very positive thought. Go Cubs, go. Thank you, Fred.
Go Cubs, go. God bless you.
All right. Thank you very much. Representative Fred Wood on the program this morning, answering questions and your concerns about HJR 5, and they urge you to vote yes on HJR 5. Thank you for all the calls, too. We do appreciate that. Okay, got to turn the page. Steve Hartkin running for state representative, re-election, District 24B. Steve is a very strong Republican incumbent and wants your vote next Tuesday, November 8th. He's a very, very strong supporter of the Second Amendment and also supports right to life, prayer in schools, and water rights in Idaho and multiple use of public lands. Vote for Steve Hartkin on November 8th for State Representative District 24B, paid for by the Steve Hartkin Campaign Committee. And while we have just a moment or two, I also want to remind you about another gentleman that's running for Minidoka County Commissioner District 2, Kent McClelland, a native of Minidoka County, and he's been your county commissioner for 6 years, and he wants another term. He's been on the Mini-Cassia Economic Development Commission and the Mini-Cassia Transportation Committee, and he wants your vote to serve you again in Minidoka County in District 2. Kent McClelland, paid for by Re-elect Kent McClelland Committee, Rick Stimson Jr., Treasurer. Okay. Now, coming up in just a few moments, and we're going to send it over to the station just a second earlier or so, we're going to have Dr. Elena George talking about Obamacare. Don't miss it. Your calls and questions are welcome. Keep them short, please, so we can get a lot of people in, and that'll be coming up in just a few minutes. Wheels, take it away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour. And we're going to have our guest on the air with us momentarily, but I want to remind you, Kelly Anthon, State Senator for District 27, running unopposed. Kelly wants to remind you to vote yes on HJR 5 next Tuesday. He encourages everybody to get out and vote, and don't forget to take your picture ID with you to the polls. Kelly Anthon, State Senator for District 27, paid for by the co-chairs, Denton Darrington and Dean Cameron, with Elaine Stevenson, Secretary. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I've had many, many guests over the years on this program, and of all the people I've had on, I respect this next lady with her absolute yes, Wheels. What's the matter?
I was just going to let you know that I didn't hear a word from her yet, but I left her a voicemail, and I'm still trying to get her on the phone as well.
Okay, she said she would call, so I'm hoping in the next couple of minutes. You still have that one number, do you not?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, and let me know immediately when she's on that on the phone, please.
All right, I can do that.
Okay, thank you very much, and we will try to get her on this end also, so thank you very much. Dr. Elena George hopefully will be on the air with us momentarily. We had talked to her earlier this morning in Atlanta, Georgia, and she said she would be available. Now, being a doctor, a practicing physician in that area, she may be tied up with a meeting or whatever. Wheels, did you say, or did I hear you say anything? Is she on the air?
No, sir, I'm still trying.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't want to pass this opportunity to talk about Obamacare. She's going to be talking about your doctors and the lie from Obama. You can keep your doctor. She's going to be talking about the high cost of health care. She's going to be talking about insurance companies and the lack of competition. And I urge you that when we get her on the air, and I'm a little nervous right now because I'd like to get that information started in a a very short period of time for the segment. I'd like to get her on the air as soon as I can here in the next few minutes. So let's see, Deanne, that's the number that we were given. If you could check that, I'd sure appreciate it. Evidently a little delay in trying to get her on the line this morning, and hopefully we can talk to her in just a few minutes. Calls are welcome and appreciated at this time. We'll take some outside calls until she does give us a jingle in at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You might want to give me a call. I'd love to talk to you about any subject until we get her on the air. Let's see what else have we got in regards to, did you know that a lot of your American tax dollars are going to sports programs for refugees? Yeah, it's true. We're not vetting these people properly. We don't know who these people are, but yet our government wants to provide millions and millions of dollars for sports programs for our refugees. And I heard, Wheels, is she there?
Yes, sir.
Wheels, good job. Thank you very much. Again, I want to reiterate that I'm very blessed on this program to have people that really know their subjects, and this lady is one of those. And we're going to be talking about Obamacare. She has been on this program many, many times. A good morning to a dear friend of this program, Dr. Elena George. How are you?
I'm fine. It's so nice to be with you again.
Dr. George, I want to get right into it. I personally, with my family, we are suffering through severe increases in premium rates. My wife's health policy has gone up over $300 a month, making it over $800 a month for just her own policy. There are so many other people like us that we can't afford this kind of coverage. This thing, Obamacare, has blown up just like you said it would.
Yeah, I wish I was wrong about this, but it unfolded exactly how I predicted it would. And unfortunately, Deb, it's not done unfolding. There's more coming. And I think this election cycle is one of the most important ones we've ever had, because it's the choice between doubling down on moving down this path, which is towards single payer, or scrapping this whole system and going back to consumer-based health care, free market medicine, where you have competition. This is all built on monopolies and cronyism, and it's not about health. It's about control. I've said that before, but it's obvious that's what's going on. Even Gruber, one of the architects of this disaster, said that he thought it was working wonderfully, and he's right, because what they wanted to do was blow up the private insurance market, and they did. So when they tell you that 20 million people are covered under Obamacare as if they're new coverages, most of those people are people who had health insurance they liked and got kicked off and had to find something else. So they actually made it so hard to stay where you were, and they figured this would be the only game in town that, people would flock to it. But fortunately, the millennials aren't doing it. Working class people can't afford it, so their system is still crumbling. But they still have another card to play, and that's this election. And if Ms. Clinton gets in there, what will happen is Medicaid and Medicare for all. She said that. So it's not just Medicare. They're going to put people who are working age on Medicaid. And both of these government programs are bankrupt, and they provide substandard care. And any doctor, worth their salt, will not be part of that system. And you can see 20% of doctors have left, 20% more doctors have left the Affordable Care Act, because they realize if you want to practice medicine with the Hippocratic Oath, this is not one area that you can do it and actually have both.
Dr. George, I'm prejudiced because I am a senior citizen. And what I see happening, and tell me if I'm wrong, with a one-size-fits-all insurance plan, little by little, inch by inch, step by step, the senior citizens are going to get kicked out of this, and we could develop a severe hemlock society against our seniors. Am I right or wrong?
I hate to tell you, Zeb, but it's already started moving that way. When they first started the Affordable Care Act, they built it on the back of seniors. They took $700 billion out of Medicare in order to set up the infrastructure of Obamacare. So that meant that seniors were not going to be covered for things they normally got covered for, that they had more money that they had to pay out of pocket. And now with the government accountable care organizations and value-based medicine kicking in, what we're seeing is a rationing of care for the seniors. And most people aren't aware of this, but when you go into a hospital setting now, either they'll maybe stabilize you and work you up as an outpatient. So I've spoken to people who've had clots in their carotid artery, they were pre-stroke. Instead of them doing the workup, calling a neurology consult and fixing it, they discharged the patient and told her to follow up as an outpatient.
Oh,
That's
my.
a stroke waiting to happen. That's one example. And the others are people in ICU settings where they just decide to put them on palliative care and hospice without treating them and not asking the family. So this is going on daily. I actually did a show about this, my show Medicine on Call, last week, and people should look at that on iTunes as an archive. It's an eye-opening experience speaking to a doctor that has to work in a system like that.
I had a gentleman call me just this morning, Dr. George, in my first hour segment, and you could hear the emotion in his voice because he said his wife is not getting the coverage on Medicare that she needs and the surgery she needs, and it seems like the seniors are getting kicked right out that door we're talking about, correct?
He's absolutely right. And it's not, there's been a change in our healthcare system where empathy used to rule. That's not the case anymore. It's about money, and it's about cost control, and they want to keep the money in the hospital setting. Let me explain briefly what's going on. There's something called an accountable care organization that's set up under Obamacare, where the hospital gets all the money, and they share that money amongst the hospital staff, doctors, radiologists, you name it, anybody who gives care in that hospital, and any doctor's office associated with it. They keep their money and they make a profit at the end of the year based on how little they do. So by denying testing, by denying surgeries, by discharging patients, they're able to save money, and that money gets passed around as profit. That's completely antithesis. That's actually pushing people to deny care in order to make money. That's a completely ridiculous system, but that's what Obamacare sets up.
What about the medical profession? I know I'm kind of shotgunning my approach here this morning, Doctor, but I've got so many questions. What about the medical profession itself? Are there really a lot of doctors throwing their hands up in the air and saying, I can't handle this, and they're leaving their practice?
There are three avenues that are happening, three methods that people are using to deal with this. One is to become an employee of a hospital, sell your practice, or have your practice become part of a hospital setting. That's one method. The other is private practice doctors leaving health insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, commercial, and going into a cash-based practice where it's prices are listed online, it's direct patient relationship, it's private, and it's actually cost-effective, and that's where the value base is. And the third are doctors that are so fed up, they're either quitting the profession. And this is the tragic statistic I told you once before. 400 doctors are committing suicide yearly since the Affordable Care Act was passed because they're so demoralized that they can't do what they trained to do and that they were put on this earth to do. So it's a tragedy for the healthcare profession. I think we're in a position where we're training doctors who will be cogs in this machine and not care. And you have to now make a choice as a patient that you value yourself enough that you will seek out doctors who believe in practicing medicine the old-fashioned way. And you can go to my website, drelenageorge.com. You can go to Join the Wedge, W-E-D-G-E, jointhewedge.com. That's a listing of doctors across the country that give you, that put their prices online and have transparency. You can also go and join one of the medical cost-sharing organizations. Again, I joined Liberty Health Share. They actually have a segment now for seniors so that Liberty Health Share can now become the supplemental policy. Instead of AARP and all those people who work against seniors, you can now carry a Liberty Health Share membership that will cover you for what you're calling described. If Medicare says no, then Liberty Health Share will pick up the difference.
Okay.
And will pay for hospitalizations, for surgeries, for anything that you need that's medically necessary. And that's real peace of mind.
Dr. George, there, of course, is a huge election next Tuesday. I think the biggest ever in my lifetime. We've heard Donald Trump say that we need to reject and throw away Obamacare. And then on the other side, we're hearing Hillary say, oh, well, we'll keep it and just make a few adjustments. Do we reject it or repair it? Or is it neither? Can we ever make this system work?
You can't make the system work, Zeb. You have to scrap it. And the best way to do it is to allow free market and consumer-based health care to reign. If people had a choice, again, I talk to people all the time all over the country on radio shows, and as soon as they hear about things like Liberty Health Share where, hey, I don't have to spend all this money, I can do what I want, I get to decide where my money goes, they love it. And I think that if people had a real choice and they took away the mandate, I don't even think Congress has to be involved in a big way here. Just remove the mandate. That would open up competition. That would allow other insurance companies to blossom because they've been put out of business by the big five. It would allow doctors who practice individualized health care to really thrive, and patients would have a choice. And anybody who knew what the choice was would pick the free market choice.
Absolutely. We have a caller, but I want to ask you a quick question and a short answer on this. When you talk about competition, Dr. George, why? Why in the world did we ever get away from stimulating competition and interstate trade between the companies? Why did we ever get away from that?
Because we have the corporatization of America where competition is anathema to them. They don't want competition. They want to run the show. They want no competition from doctors. If the hospitals don't want competition from doctors, the insurance companies don't want competition from cash-based practices. It's all about controlling the market. And if you control the power of the purse string, you control the power. And with the help of the government, they've been supersized. It's like on steroids what's going on.
Right.
And we still, as patients and doctors, have control in the system if we know how to take our power back.
Absolutely. Caller, with your question, go ahead, please, for Dr. George, quickly.
Yes, I was wondering if they do away with the Obama plan, will that do away with the children up to, 23 years old? And will that do away with the $1 million ceiling?
Okay, we'll have her answer that on the air. Dr. George, please.
Well, right now it's children up to 26 years old on their parents' plan. No one's talking about getting rid of that, but that's one of the major reasons that the insurance policy is so high, because they don't have enough young, healthy people to join their insurance pools. So they've skewed it towards older people with more medical problems. I mean, who thought that was going to work? But it was all pandering to try to get people to join Obamacare without thinking about the long view. It's ridiculous. As far as I know, there's, even under Mr. Trump's plan, there's no, there will still be no ceiling, or I should say, there's no cutoff on the health care. So there's no ceiling, just like there is on Obamacare. I think that there's no max out on what you're going to get when you're insurance. But I want to say, people need to go to the websites of the candidates and look at their plan instead of listening to the mainstream media tell you what they say. I've read both of them. There's no question as a physician and as a patient, his plan is much better than hers. If you can save your money in a health savings account, and if you don't use it, pass it to your loved ones as well. To your, if you pass away, you can actually bequeath that to somebody. That's actually a really good thing. So there's an incentive to handle your own business so you can control your own destiny. That's a really neat thing. And being able to write off your health care premiums completely on your insurance, that will save people money as well. And allowing people to buy across state lines insurance, which would mean that the insurance companies would have to compete with each other instead of being little fiefdoms. All these things actually matter.
Dr. George, does it surprise you, and I'll say up front it absolutely shocks me, that the American public hasn't picked up a pitchfork and marched down Pennsylvania Avenue demanding better? I mean, we're looking at Arizona, for instance, 116% increase in their premiums, and the costs are skyrocketing. When is the American public, in your opinion, going to wake up and smell the coffee and say, we can't do this?
I think it's coming during this enrollment season. The the thing that's been hidden is the real cost of this Obamacare fiasco, because it hasn't rolled out very slowly. They've been holding down the cost. They've been lying to people, but this time the truth is coming out. When you start seeing sticker shock on your premiums, and then you start paying attention. But see, Zeb, this is my thing. Maybe everybody needs to have this in order so they can stop waiting for someone else to fix it and waiting for it to get better. Your choice is for you to make the system better. I've withdrawn my consent from it. I don't have a health insurance policy. I have Liberty Health Share. I'm not going to give those guys money to screw me over. Why should anybody do it? So if people make decisions where they pick alternate forms of coverage, that's how you starve the system. Congress is not going to help you. Even if Mr. Trump gets in, it's going to take a while to reverse the ship. But in the meantime, you can pick Liberty Health Share. If you go to libertyoncall.org, you can go to Samaritan, you can go to MediShare, you can go to MedRetreat to get medical tourism, which gives you a cash-based price in the country or outside the country. And honestly, to be honest, it's cheaper to pay the fine than it is to actually carry the insurance. So if you're paying a $1,700 or $700 fine right now, maybe $2,500 fine, depending on what you make, you're paying $23,000 in premiums for an insurance plan. Which one is better for you? I mean, I submit that paying the fine is going to be cheaper than dealing with insurance companies.
You know, you mentioned about the time to make reparations or rejections on this idiocy called Obamacare, but a lot of people don't have the time, and they definitely don't have the money, and I know many right here in my area are so frustrated, downright mad, and they want to have somebody fighting for them. Where are the senators and congressmen standing up, beating their fist on their desk and saying enough is enough? Where are these people?
I don't know. That's a very good point. But this election is going to tell us where they are. Because if it turns the tide and we finally get change with a different candidate who's not part of the establishment, they're going to have to come to the table and play ball. Because it's not going to be pay to play and do whatever you want as usual. And that means that we finally have gotten our voice back. And they'll start listening to us if they want to stay in power. Right now they think that, they have it's rigged. They're not going to be able to do anything, so what? Because they're getting their money from alternate sources. But this is our chance to send a message, frankly. I think we should send it.
I just absolutely love having you on the air because you're so articulate and you know so much about Obamacare. I'm going to put you on the spot here with one final question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so bad, 10 being horrendous, where are we today with health care in this country on that 1 to 10 scale?
We're 15.
Oh, my.
Off the scale, okay?
This
is a system that's rolling forward, and it's Pac-Manning everything in its path, and it's destroying things. This is people's lives we're talking about, Zeb. So when they say it's a casualty that we can accept, that's somebody's loved one who's not getting care, who's self-rationing by taking longer to get in to see a doctor, who's rationing their medication because they can't afford to get the next prescription. While these guys play chicken with our lives, I take offense to that. We have to start making it known to them that we're not going to play their game, and the best way to do that is to stop paying them for them to take advantage of us. That means we need to make our vote count, and we need to find alternate methods, direct primary care, medical cost sharing, making a deal with your doctor, paying cash, getting AFLAC so you have a supplemental policy that will pay for catastrophic illness. Go to my website, get my book. There's lots of ways to figure this out. And insurance is not the answer. That's part of the problem.
Absolutely. Dr. Elena George, I'm going to, after this segment, tomorrow on the program, give out those websites again so that people can refer to your knowledge on this. Thank you for taking the time to come back on my program. You are so appreciated. Dr. Elena George in Atlanta, Georgia, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care now.
God bless. Thank you. What a wonderful lady, great doctor, and knows about the pitfalls and the tragedies of Obamacare. I know I'm running late. I've got to get this done, and I do appreciate her being on my program this morning. And I'll give those websites out again tomorrow so you can find out more information. Right now, let's get our weather forecast on here by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat one one delicious bite at a time. They are a locally owned custom meat processor for over 20 years. Scarrows Meats. Here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like we're in a high-pressure system for the next couple of days, and as we move on into the weekend, weather for this November 2nd looks like sunny skies, high of 64 with an overnight low of 30. Tomorrow, sunny and 60 with an overnight low of 32. Sunny skies for the weekend. Looks like highs are going to be in the low to mid-60s. Lows are going to be in the mid-30s, and for Sunday, mostly sunny skies, high right around 60. Yesterday's high was 51. The overnight low was 35. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Brought to you by Don Scarrow and the crew. Really, really nice people. Great people with Scarrow's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, also want to remind you about our major sponsor. These folks have been so good to me over the many, many years, and they are good to you. Absolutely, with the best in service, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Center. 7 locations serving you, and they want you to be prepared for the snow, the ice, the muck, and everything that winter driving conditions will bring you. They've got the best of your tires needed to get through all that, and stop in and check it out today. Whether it's for your car, pickup, SUV, whatever, they've got all your different treads and, of course, different designs for your type of winter driving. Stop in and see them. Check out the snow chains. Check out the batteries. Have your battery tested. Make sure it's going to get the job done for you. And if not, they've got the best in batteries with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Woo, busy day. Thank you for all your calls. And tomorrow, Thursday, we've got a lot of good people coming on, as we usually do at the end of the week's segments. Be sure and tune in at 8:06 tomorrow morning. We'll ride the horse for 3 hours. And, of course, the way things were are the way things ought to be. And may I leave you with a final thought before we have this good word for Senator Mike Crapo. Go Cubs! See you tomorrow. Wheels, take it away.